They say you never forget the moment your entire world collapses. Mine happened on a Tuesday afternoon, standing in my own kitchen, staring at a pair of earrings that weren't mine, glittering on my nightstand like tiny betrayals made of gold and cubic zirconia. I knew those earrings. I'd complimented those earrings. 3 weeks ago, at brunch, while Sarah threw her head back laughing at one of my husband's jokes, the way she always did, a little too loud, a little too long. I'd reached across the table, touched the delicate hoop dangling from her ear, and said, "These are gorgeous. Where'd you get them?" She'd smiled at me. That warm, familiar smile that had been a constant in my life for 20 years. "Oh, just some boutique downtown. I'll text you the name." She never did text me the name. And now they were on my nightstand. In my bedroom. Next to my husband's side of the bed. I picked them up. They were still warm. Let me take you back. Not to that Tuesday, we'll get there, I promise, but to the beginning. Because to understand how spectacularly my life imploded, you need to understand what it looked like before the explosion. My name is Rebecca. I'm 38 years old. I have *had**, what everyone would call a picture-perfect life. A beautiful home in a safe suburban neighborhood where people actually wave at each other from their driveways. A husband who coached Little League on weekends even though we don't have kids. A successful career as a graphic designer that I mostly did from home, which meant I could wear yoga pants all day and call it business casual. And Sarah. God, Sarah. We met in college, freshman year, in one of those massive lecture halls where you're basically anonymous unless you make an effort. I dropped my coffee on the first day, a venti caramel macchiato that exploded across the floor like a sugary grenade. Sarah was sitting 2 rows behind me. She didn't laugh. She didn't roll her eyes. She handed me a stack of napkins from her bag and whispered, "I did the exact same thing last week in chemistry. Pretty sure the stain is still there." That's who Sarah was. Kind. Thoughtful. The person who remembered your coffee order, who showed up with soup when you were sick, who held your hair back after too many margaritas and never mentioned it again. We were inseparable through college. Roommates junior and senior year. We studied abroad in Italy together, got matching stupid tattoos in Barcelona that we both regret but refuse to remove out of principle. She was my maid of honor when I married Marcus. I was hers when she married David. 20 years of friendship. 20 years of late-night conversations and inside jokes. 20 years of being the person who knew everything about each other, our fears, our dreams, our worst moments, our best secrets. Except, as it turns out, she was keeping one secret from me. A big one. Marcus and I had been married for 12 years when this happened. 12 years of mostly good, some bad, the usual marriage stuff. He was a high school history teacher, which meant he was passionate about ancient Rome and terrible at remembering to take out the trash. He had kind eyes and a dad bod that he swore he was going to do something about every January. He made me laugh. He made me feel safe. Or at least, I thought he did. Looking back now, I can see the signs. But here's the thing about betrayal, the signs are only obvious in retrospect. In the moment, they're just life. Just the normal fluctuations of a long-term relationship. Just the usual distractions of busy schedules and work stress. It started about 8 months before that Tuesday. Marcus became more attentive. More romantic. He'd come home with flowers for no reason. He'd suggest date nights. He'd compliment my hair, my clothes, things he normally wouldn't notice even if I dyed my hair purple and wore a clown costume. I thought we were going through a renaissance. A second honeymoon phase. I told Sarah about it, actually. Over coffee at our favorite cafe, the one with the uncomfortable metal chairs that we loved anyway. Marcus has been so sweet lately, I said, stirring my latte. It's like we're dating again. Sarah smiled at me across the table. That's wonderful, Beck. You guys deserve it. You've been together so long, it's nice that you're keeping the spark alive. She reached across and squeezed my hand. I squeezed back. I wonder now what she was thinking in that moment. Was she feeling guilty? Was she enjoying the irony? Or had she somehow compartmentalized it so completely that she could look me in the eye, hold my hand, and feel absolutely nothing? The other sign was Sarah's marriage falling apart. She and David had been rocky for a while, about a year, maybe longer. They fought constantly. About money, about his job, about whether to have kids. Sarah would call me crying at midnight, and I'd talk her through it, tell her it would be okay, remind her why she fell in love with him in the first place. I just feel so disconnected from him, she told me once, her voice thick with tears. Like we're roommates, not partners. Like the passion is just gone. Maybe you need to spice things up, I suggested, trying to be helpful. Go on a trip together. Try couples therapy. Do something to break the routine. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, yeah. Maybe. 3 months later, she filed for divorce. I was there for her through all of it. I helped her find an apartment. I helped her move. I sat with her on the floor of her new place, surrounded by boxes, drinking wine straight from the bottle because we couldn't find the glasses. I'm going to be okay, she said, leaning her head on my shoulder. I have you. As long as I have you, I'll be okay. I hugged her tight. Always. You'll always have me. The lies we tell each other. The lies we tell ourselves. Marcus started working late. A lot. I'm sorry, babe, he'd say, texting me at 7 p.m. Got caught up grading papers. I'll be home by 9. He'd come home by 10. Budget meeting ran long, he'd explain, kissing my forehead. You know how the school district is. I did know. I'd been married to a teacher for 12 years. Budget meetings were notoriously endless. Except one night, I decided to surprise him. Bring him dinner at the school. Be the thoughtful wife. I made his favorite, chicken parmesan, packed it up in a nice container, drove to the school at 8 p.m. The parking lot was empty. The building was dark. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, the container of chicken parmesan growing cold on the passenger seat, trying to figure out where my husband could possibly be. I called him. It rang 4 times, then went to voicemail. I called Sarah. She answered on the first ring. Hey, Beck. What's up? Her voice was bright. Cheerful. Normal. Have you seen Marcus? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He said he was working late, but he's not at the school. A pause. Just a fraction of a second too long. Oh, no. I haven't seen him. Maybe he went to grab food? Yeah, I said slowly. Maybe. Is everything okay? She asked, concern dripping from her voice like honey. Yeah. Everything's fine. I'll just wait for him at home. Okay. Call me if you need anything. I will. Thanks. I drove home. Marcus got there an hour later. Where were you? I asked, trying not to sound accusatory. School, he said, not meeting my eyes. Why? I went by. You weren't there. He blinked. Then ran a hand through his hair. Oh. Right. I ran out to get coffee. The meeting was brutal, I needed caffeine. For an hour? I ran into Tom from the math department. We got talking. Lost track of time. It was plausible. It was believable. It was a lie. But I didn't know that yet. The thing about intuition is that we ignore it. We rationalize it away. We tell ourselves we're being paranoid, insecure, crazy. Because the alternative, that our intuition is correct, that something is deeply wrong, is too terrifying to face. So we don't face it. We make excuses. We give the benefit of the doubt. We choose to believe the comfortable lie over the uncomfortable truth. I chose to believe Marcus. I chose to believe Sarah. I chose to believe that my life was exactly what it appeared to be, stable, happy, secure. And then came that Tuesday. I wasn't supposed to be home. That's the ironic part. I was supposed to be in Chicago for a client meeting, gone for 2 days. But the client got food poisoning the night before, actual food poisoning, not the metaphorical kind that ruins your entire existence, and they rescheduled. So I came home early. I texted Marcus to let him know. No response. He was in class. No big deal. I texted Sarah. Back early. Want to grab lunch? She responded immediately. Can't today. Swamped with work. Rain check? Sure thing. I pulled into my driveway at 1 p.m. The house was quiet. I kicked off my shoes, dropped my bag, and immediately noticed something felt off. You know that feeling when you walk into your own home and something's different? Not wrong, necessarily. Just different. A shift in the air, a scent that doesn't belong, a vibe that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. That's what I felt. I walked through the living room. Nothing out of place. Kitchen. Normal. But as I passed the staircase, I heard it. A sound. A creak. Old houses make sounds all the time, right? Settling foundations, temperature changes, squirrels in the attic. Except this wasn't a house sound. This was a floor sound. Someone walking. Upstairs. In my house. My heart started pounding. We lived in a safe neighborhood, but break-ins happen everywhere. I grabbed the first weapon I could find, a cast iron skillet from the stove, and slowly, quietly, started up the stairs. Another creak. It was coming from my bedroom. I reached the top of the stairs. My bedroom door was closed. It's never closed during the day. Never. I stood there for what felt like an hour but was probably 30 seconds, gripping that skillet, trying to decide what to do. Call the police? Confront the intruder? Run? And then I heard something that made my blood turn to ice. Laughter. A woman's laughter. Low. Intimate. Familiar. I knew that laugh. I'd been hearing that laugh for 20 years. I pushed open the door. They didn't hear me at first. They were too wrapped up in each other. Too lost in whatever moment they were sharing. My husband. My Marcus. Sitting on the edge of our bed. Our bed, the one we picked out together at that furniture store where the salesman was too pushy and we joked about it for months afterward, wearing nothing but his boxers. And Sarah. My Sarah. My best friend of 20 years. Wearing one of my robes. The silk one Marcus got me for Christmas. Standing between his legs, running her fingers through his hair, smiling down at him with an expression I'd never seen on her face before. Content. Satisfied. Possessive. They looked like a couple. Like they belonged together. Like this wasn't the first time they'd stood in this exact configuration, in this exact room, wearing these exact things. The skillet slipped from my hand and hit the floor with a deafening clang. They both jumped like guilty teenagers caught by parents. Sarah's face went white. Then red. Then white again. Marcus stood up so fast he nearly knocked her over. Rebecca. Jesus. What are you? You're not supposed to be here. No, I said, and my voice sounded strange even to my own ears. Calm. Too calm. Like I was floating above my body, watching this happen to someone else. I'm not supposed to be here. But I am. And apparently, you are too. Both of you. Beck, Sarah started, reaching for me. Don't. I held up a hand. Don't you dare. She froze. Marcus started talking fast, words tumbling over each other. We didn't, it's not what it looks like. I laughed. Actually laughed. It's not what it looks like? Marcus, she's wearing my robe. In my bedroom. While you're in your underwear. What exactly does it look like to you? He opened his mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. I don't know. How long? I asked, looking at Sarah. Not Marcus. Sarah. Because somehow, her betrayal cut deeper. How long has this been going on? She couldn't meet my eyes. Beck, How long? 6 months, she whispered. 6 months. Half a year. 180 days of lies. Of secret phone calls and late-night texts and stolen moments in my house, in my bed, in my life. Get out, I said quietly. Rebecca, please, let me explain, Marcus started. Get out. Both of you. Right now. Sarah grabbed her clothes, I noticed them then, tossed carelessly on my chair, like this was normal, like she belonged here, and started getting dressed. Her hands were shaking. Good. Marcus tried to approach me. We need to talk about this. I picked up the skillet again. I didn't point it at him. Didn't need to. The message was clear. He backed away. They left. Sarah first, moving quickly, not looking back. Marcus lingered in the doorway, opened his mouth like he had something important to say, then thought better of it and followed her down the stairs. I heard the front door close. I heard Sarah's car start. I heard them drive away. And then I heard nothing. Just the sound of my own breathing in the sudden, suffocating silence of my empty house. That's when I noticed the earrings on the nightstand. That's when I picked them up. That's when I felt them, still warm from her skin. That's when I finally understood. This wasn't new. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a one-time thing. This was routine. This was comfortable. This was them using my absence, my trust, my home as their personal love nest. How many times had they done this? How many times had I left for work, for meetings, for errands, only for them to slip into my house, into my bed, into each other? How many times had I sat across from Sarah at that cafe, holding her hand, listening to her complain about her loveless marriage, while she was actively destroying mine? How many times had Marcus kissed me goodbye in the morning, told me he loved me, then texted her the moment I drove away? I sat down on the bed. That bed, contaminated now, ruined, and I didn't cry. I felt too empty to cry. Or maybe too full. Full of a rage so complete, so consuming, that there wasn't room for tears. They thought they could do this. They thought they could take everything from me and I'd what? Collapse? Fall apart? Make it easy for them? No. I sat there on that bed, holding those earrings, and I made a decision. I wasn't going to fall apart. I was going to make them wish they'd never been born. The first thing I did was take pictures. Of everything. The unmade bed with its rumpled sheets. The earrings. Sarah's coffee mug, her favorite one, the one with the chipped handle that I'd given her for her birthday 3 years ago, sitting on my nightstand. Marcus's shirt tossed over the chair. The indent in the mattress where they'd been sitting. Evidence. Then I went through the house like a crime scene investigator. What else had they left behind? What other traces of their betrayal were hiding in plain sight? I found a hair tie under the bed. Sarah's. The black one with the little gold beads. I found a receipt in the trash can. Dinner for 2 at an expensive Italian restaurant. Last Thursday. When Marcus told me he was at a faculty meeting and Sarah told me she was visiting her mother. I found text messages when I finally worked up the courage to look at Marcus's phone. He'd left it on the kitchen counter in his rush to leave. The passcode was our anniversary. Of course it was. Even cheaters are predictable. The messages made me physically ill. Not because they were explicit, though some were, but because they were intimate. Tender. Full of inside jokes and heart emojis and plans for a future that apparently I wasn't part of. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. She'll be gone all afternoon. Last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you. I love you. I love you too. I love you too. 3 words. From my husband. To my best friend. I screenshotted everything. Every message, every photo, every emoji. I uploaded them to a cloud drive, then a second cloud drive, then emailed them to myself 3 times for good measure. And then I started planning. See, here's what Marcus and Sarah didn't know about me: I'm patient. I'm thorough. And when I'm hurt, I don't lash out immediately. I strategize. I was a graphic designer, yes, but I was also the person who planned our entire wedding in 6 months while working full-time, the person who organized Sarah's divorce paperwork when she was too emotional to think straight, the person who could see all the moving pieces and figure out how they fit together. Now I was going to use those skills to dismantle their lives. But I needed more information first. I needed to understand the full scope of the betrayal. Were they planning to leave their respective spouses and be together? Was this just physical or emotional too? What lies had they told? Who else knew? I couldn't ask them. They'd just lie again. So I did what any reasonable person would do in this situation. I hired a private investigator. His name was Tom Reeves, and he looked exactly like you'd expect a PI to look: middle-aged, tired eyes, a wedding ring he probably never took off. I met him in his office, which smelled like old coffee and older cigarettes. I need to know everything, I told him, sliding the envelope of evidence across his desk. When they meet, where they go, what they do. I need dates, times, photographs. I need proof that will hold up anywhere: court, social media, the PTA meeting. Tom raised his eyebrows. The PTA meeting? My husband's a teacher. They have reputations. I want to make sure everyone knows exactly who they're dealing with. He nodded slowly. I can do that. It'll take about 2 weeks. Money's no issue, I said. And it wasn't. I had my own accounts, my own income. Another thing Marcus didn't know: I'd been quietly building a nest egg for years, just in case. Just in case of what, I'd never articulated. Turns out my subconscious was smarter than my conscious mind. I'll call you when I have something, Tom said. Thank you. I stood to leave, then turned back. Tom? One more thing. They can't know they're being followed. This only works if they think they got away with it. He smiled grimly. Lady, I've been doing this for 20 years. They never know. The hardest part was pretending. Marcus came back that evening, shamefaced and sheepish. He'd been staying with his brother, apparently. Probably told him some sanitized version of events. Can we talk? He asked, standing in the doorway like a vampire waiting for permission to enter. Sure, I said. My voice was steady. Calm. I'd been practicing in the mirror. We sat in the living room. The same living room where we'd watched countless movies, hosted dinner parties, celebrated anniversaries. Now it felt like a stage set for a play I didn't audition for. I'm so sorry, he started. I know that doesn't even begin to cover it, but I am. I'm so sorry. I waited. It started after Sarah's divorce. She was vulnerable, and I was trying to be supportive, and things just happened. Things just happened, I repeated flatly. I know how that sounds. I know. But Beck, I love you. I've always loved you. This thing with Sarah, it was a mistake. A huge, terrible mistake. 6 months is a long mistake, Marcus. He flinched. I know. I know. But it's over now. I swear to you, it's over. I'll never see her again. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. I studied him. The man I'd married. The man I'd trusted. He looked sincere. Eyes wet with unshed tears. Hands clasped in his lap. Body language screaming remorse. And maybe he even believed what he was saying. But I knew better. Okay, I said softly. He looked up, surprise flickering across his face. Okay? Okay. We can work on this. But I need time. And space. And honestly, I need you to stay somewhere else for a while. Can you do that? Of course. Of course. Whatever you need. Thank you. He stood, hesitated, then leaned down to kiss my forehead. I let him. Didn't pull away. Didn't flinch. I'll make this right, he promised. I love you, Beck. I love you too, I said. Another lie to add to the collection. Sarah was easier. She called me 17 times the first day. I didn't answer. On the 18th call, I picked up. Beck, please let me explain. Okay, I said simply. Silence. She'd been expecting a fight. Okay, she echoed. Explain. I don't know where to start. How about the beginning? She took a shaky breath. It really did start after my divorce. I was in such a dark place, and Marcus was there for me, and we were spending so much time together, and I don't know, somewhere along the way, feelings developed. Feelings developed. As if they were inevitable. As if she had no agency in the matter. Did you think about me? I asked. Even once? Every day, she whispered. Every single day. It was killing me, Beck. The guilt was eating me alive. But not enough to stop. No, she admitted. Not enough to stop. And I hate myself for that. I hate what I've become. Do you love him? Another pause. I don't know. Maybe. I thought I did. Thought? Seeing you there, seeing your face, it made everything real. Before, it was like we were in this bubble, you know? This separate world where consequences didn't exist. But they do exist. And I've destroyed the most important relationship in my life. Yes, I agreed. You have. Is there any chance, any way we could eventually be friends again? I finished for her. Yes. I pretended to think about it. I don't know, Sarah. Maybe. Eventually. But I need time. I'm not ready to talk to you yet. Maybe in a few weeks. Okay. Okay, I understand. Thank you, Beck. Thank you for even considering it. We've been friends for 20 years. That has to count for something. She started crying. It does. It counts for everything. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I know. Goodbye, Sarah. I hung up. And I smiled. Because they both believed I might forgive them. They both believed there was a path forward. They both believed they'd gotten away with the worst of it, that the hard part was over, that now we'd all just have to deal with the messy emotional aftermath. They had no idea what was coming. Tom called me 10 days later. I've got what you need, he said. Can you come by the office? I was there in 20 minutes. He spread the photographs across his desk like a dealer showing a winning hand. And what a hand it was. Marcus and Sarah at a hotel. 3 different hotels, actually. The Marriott downtown. A bed and breakfast 2 towns over. A budget motel off the highway that charged by the hour. Marcus and Sarah having dinner at restaurants I'd never been to. Holding hands across candlelit tables. Feeding each other dessert. Marcus and Sarah at her apartment. Him arriving at 9 p.m. with flowers. leaving at 2 a.m. with his tie loosened. Marcus and Sarah in my house. Entering together while my car was conspicuously absent from the driveway. The timestamps on the photos corresponded perfectly with my work schedule, my client meetings, my grocery runs. They've been careful, Tom said. But not careful enough. They have a pattern. Every Tuesday and Thursday, they meet at her place. Saturday afternoons when you're usually out, they use your house. Wednesday evenings, they go to the Marriott. Wednesday evenings, I repeated. When Marcus has his basketball league. Tom nodded grimly. There is no basketball league. Hasn't been for 3 months. The season ended. Of course it did. There's more, Tom continued, pulling out his phone. I managed to get audio from their last dinner date. They were at a restaurant, sitting near an open window. I was in the parking lot with a directional mic. He pressed play. Sarah's voice, tinny through the speaker, do you think she suspects anything? Marcus's voice, no. She bought the whole thing. She wants to work on the marriage. Laughter. From both of them. Sarah, God, I almost feel bad. Marcus, almost? Sarah, almost. But then I remember how good we are together, and I stop feeling bad. Marcus, we are good together. Better than good. Sarah, so what's the plan? Long term, I mean. Marcus, I'll give it a few more months. Make sure she's really committed to working things out. Then I'll tell her it's not working, that we've grown apart, that it's nobody's fault. Clean break, no drama. Sarah, and then? Marcus, and then we can finally be together. No more hiding. No more sneaking around. Sarah, I can't wait. The sound of kissing. Of chairs scraping. The audio cut off. I sat there, staring at Tom's desk, feeling strangely vindicated. They weren't remorseful. They weren't sorry. They were just sorry they got caught, and now they were planning their next move. The victim narrative I'd been crafting, the wounded wife trying to salvage her marriage, had worked perfectly. They thought I was weak. Forgiving. Naive. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Thank you, Tom, I said, gathering the photographs into a neat stack. This is perfect. What are you going to do with it? I smiled. Everything. Step 1, secure my assets. I met with a divorce attorney the next day. Her name was Patricia Hernandez, and she had a reputation for being ruthless. Exactly what I needed. I want him to have nothing, I told her, spreading Tom's evidence across her desk. Can you do that? Patricia studied the photographs, listened to the audio, read through the text messages I'd compiled. Then she looked up at me with something like respect in her eyes. In this state, adultery affects everything. Property division, alimony, even retirement accounts. With this evidence? Yes. I can make sure he gets the absolute minimum. How long will it take? To file? I can have papers drawn up by end of week. To finalize? Depends on if he contests it, but with evidence this damning, I doubt he will. 6 months, maybe less. Good. Do it. What about the friend? What about her? Any legal action you want to pursue there? Alienation of affection is still actionable in some cases. No, I interrupted. What I have planned for her is better than any lawsuit. Patricia raised an eyebrow but didn't push. As you wish. I also met with my financial advisor, moved money around, made sure everything that was mine stayed mine. Changed passwords, updated beneficiaries, secured my credit. Marcus had never been particularly involved in our finances, a mistake that was about to cost him dearly. By the end of the week, I had my ducks in a row. Everything was ready. Now I just needed the perfect moment to pull the trigger. That moment came sooner than expected. Marcus's school was hosting their annual fundraiser gala. It was a big deal, all the teachers, administrators, prominent community members, donors. Marcus had been on the planning committee for months. He'd invited me weeks ago, back when we were still pretending to be a happy couple. Back before I knew about Sarah. "Are you still planning to come?" He asked me hesitantly, about 3 weeks after I'd caught them. We were having one of our awkward working on the marriage dinners, sitting across from each other at a restaurant neither of us wanted to be at. "Of course," I said, smiling sweetly. "I wouldn't miss it. It's important to you." Relief washed over his face. "Thank you. It means a lot." "What are friends for?" I said, then caught myself. "Sorry. I mean, you know what I mean." He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "We're going to get through this. I promise." I squeezed back. "I know." What I didn't tell him was that Sarah would be there too. I'd seen it on the guest list when he left his planning folder open on the kitchen table. Her name, right there in the alphabetical roster. Sarah Mitchell, +1. She was bringing a date, apparently. Someone named James from her office. Perfect. I spent the next 2 weeks preparing. And I do mean preparing. First, I designed invitations. Custom ones. They looked official, school letterhead, proper formatting, everything perfect. They said, "You are cordially invited to a special presentation at the Washington High School fundraiser gala, The Truth Behind Closed Doors, a multimedia experience. Immediately following dinner. Attendance mandatory for all faculty and committee members." I had them printed at a professional shop. Made them look legitimate. Then I mailed them to every single person on the guest list except Marcus and Sarah. They'd get their invitation in person. Next, I created a video. Remember, I'm a graphic designer. I know my way around editing software. I spent hours and hours perfecting it, making sure every transition was smooth, every image clear, every timestamp visible. It opened with a title card, a timeline of Betrayal. Then, chronologically arranged, photos of Marcus and Sarah at restaurants. Dates and locations stamped in the corner. Photos of them entering hotels. Photos of them in my house, taken from Tom's surveillance. Text messages, displayed in their entirety. The audio from the restaurant, transcribed and played over images of them laughing together. All of it. 6 months of lies, documented and undeniable. The video was 12 minutes long. Set to Sarah McLachlan's Angel, because I have a sense of irony. I also prepared a backup plan. Burned the video to DVDs, uploaded it to multiple platforms, had it ready to email to everyone on the school's contact list if needed. Finally, I bought a dress. A stunning red dress that cost more than I'd ever spent on a single piece of clothing. Figure-hugging, elegant, powerful. I was going to look amazing when I burned their lives to the ground. The night of the gala arrived. I spent 2 hours getting ready. Hair professionally styled. Makeup flawless. That red dress fit like it was made for me. Marcus saw me when I came downstairs and actually gasped. "Wow. You look, wow." "Thank you," I said coolly. "Shall we?" We drove to the school in silence. Marcus tried to make conversation a few times, but I kept my responses short. I was saving my words for later. The school gymnasium had been transformed. String lights, round tables with white tablecloths, a stage with a podium and screen for presentations. It actually looked nice. Someone had put real effort into this. Too bad I was about to ruin it. We checked in, found our assigned table. Marcus's colleagues greeted us warmly. I smiled and chatted and played the role of supportive wife perfectly. I'd had a lot of practice lying, after all. I'd learned from the best. Then Sarah arrived. She walked in wearing a blue dress that I'd helped her pick out last summer. She saw me immediately, our eyes locked across the room, and her face went pale. She clearly hadn't expected me to be here. She was with James, a tall man with kind eyes who had no idea what he was getting involved in. Poor James. Sarah made her way over to our table. Because of course our tables were next to each other. The planning committee had thought it would be nice to seat friends together. "Rebecca," she said, her voice tight. "I didn't know you'd be here." "Of course I'm here," I said brightly. "Supporting my husband." "You remember what that's like, right? Supporting your husband?" She flinched. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "Maybe we should." "Oh, don't be silly," I interrupted. "Sarah and I are adults. We can be civil. Can't we, Sarah?" "Yes," she said quietly. "Of course." "Wonderful. This is going to be such a fun evening." Dinner was served. Rubbery chicken and overcooked vegetables that nobody was really eating anyway. The conversation at our table was stilted, awkward. Everyone could sense the tension but didn't know the source. Sarah kept shooting me nervous glances. Marcus kept trying to make eye contact, probably wondering what I was planning. I ate my dinner calmly. Sipped my wine. Laughed at appropriate moments. And I waited. Finally, after dessert was cleared, the principal took the stage. "Thank you all for being here tonight," he said into the microphone. "Your generosity supports our students and makes events like this possible. Now, before we wrap up, I understand we have a special presentation. Something about..." He consulted his notes, the truth behind closed doors. "Mrs. Rebecca Anderson will be presenting." Confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. Marcus turned to me, eyes wide. "Rebecca, what?" "Excuse me," I said, standing smoothly. "This won't take long." I walked to the stage in my red dress, heels clicking against the gymnasium floor. Every eye in the room was on me. The principal handed me the microphone, looking confused but playing along. I took a deep breath. "Good evening," I said, my voice projecting clearly. "Thank you all for being here. I promise this won't take long, but I think it's important that everyone see what I'm about to show you. Especially those of you who trust the people in your lives. The people you think you know." I nodded to the tech booth. The lights dimmed. The video started. Title card, a timeline of betrayal. I watched the crowd instead of the screen. I'd seen it enough times. I wanted to see their reactions. The gasp started immediately. When the first photo appeared, Marcus and Sarah holding hands at a restaurant, I heard someone whisper, "Oh my God." I found Sarah in the crowd. She was frozen, her face ashen, staring at the screen like she could will it to stop. I found Marcus. He was standing, trying to make his way to the stage, but people were blocking him, equally transfixed by what they were seeing. The principal tried to intervene. "Mrs. Anderson, I don't think." "Please," I said into the microphone. "Just let them watch. They deserve to know the truth." The video continued. Photos. Text messages. The audio played, Marcus and Sarah's voices crystal clear in the gymnasium. "Do you think she suspects anything?" "No. She bought the whole thing." Laughter. "God, I almost feel bad." "Almost?" More gasps. Someone started crying. I think it was Marcus's department head. The video ended with a final title card, 6 months. 47 hotel visits. Countless lies. And all of it in my house, in my bed, while I trusted them both. The screen went black. The lights came up. Silence. Complete, suffocating silence. I stood there on that stage, holding the microphone, looking out at 200 shocked faces. Then I found Marcus and Sarah again. "I want to thank you all for being here tonight," I said calmly. "Transparency is so important, don't you think? Marcus has always said that trust is the foundation of any relationship. I thought his colleagues and friends should know exactly how much he values that foundation." Marcus finally made it to the front. Rebecca, please, not like this. How should it have been, Marcus? I asked, still speaking into the microphone so everyone could hear. Should I have handled it privately? The way you and Sarah handled your affair privately? In my house? In my bed? I'm sorry, he said, and he was crying now. Actually crying. I'm so sorry. I know you are, I said. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry everyone knows. But you're not sorry for what you did. The audio proves that. I turned to Sarah. She was standing now too, James looking at her with dawning horror. Sarah, you were my best friend for 20 years. 20 years. And you threw it all away for what? For him? She opened her mouth but nothing came out. I hope it was worth it, I said quietly. I really do. Then I set the microphone down on the stage with a soft thump that echoed through the gym, and I walked out. Head high. Back straight. Red dress swishing with each step. Behind me, the chaos erupted. Shouting, crying, arguing. I heard the principal trying to restore order. I heard Marcus calling my name. I didn't look back. I walked out of that gymnasium, out of that school, got into my car. I'd arranged for a separate ride, not trusting Marcus to drive me home, and I left. And for the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. The aftermath was nuclear. Marcus was suspended from his teaching position pending an investigation into conduct unbecoming of a faculty member. Apparently having an affair wasn't technically against school policy, but doing it with someone who was on multiple school committees and using school resources to facilitate meetings, he'd been using his classroom, I found out later, definitely was. He'd probably keep his job eventually, but his reputation was destroyed. Parents were calling the school demanding he be fired. His colleagues wouldn't speak to him. The basketball coach position he'd been hoping for? Given to someone else. Sarah lost clients. Word spread fast in our community, small-town gossip at its finest, and several of her bigger accounts dropped her. Something about not aligning with our company values. Her date, James, apparently told everyone at her office what happened. She ended up leaving her job and moving 3 hours away. Good. As for us? The divorce papers were filed the Monday after the gala. Marcus didn't contest anything. Couldn't, really, with all the evidence. I got the house, most of our savings, and a very favorable settlement. His lawyer tried to argue that I'd been unnecessarily cruel with the public humiliation and that should be taken into account. Patricia shut that down immediately. Your client had an affair for 6 months in my client's home. He deserves whatever humiliation he gets. The divorce was finalized in 4 months. Faster than I'd expected. I signed the papers with a sense of finality. Not relief, exactly. Not happiness. Just closure. People ask me if I regret it. The public exposure. The video at the gala. Wasn't that a bit extreme? My mother asked me over coffee a few weeks after everything went down. You could have handled it privately. Could I? I asked. Mom, they used my house. My bed. They laughed about how naive I was. They planned to keep lying to me for months before Marcus would gently end things. They took everything from me. They deserved to have something taken from them. But your dignity. My dignity? I laughed. Mom, my dignity was intact the moment I walked out of that gymnasium. I stood on that stage with my head held high and I showed everyone the truth. There's nothing undignified about refusing to be a victim. She was quiet for a moment. Then she reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You're right. I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. Thank you. Do I regret it? No. Would I do it again? In a heartbeat. Because here's what I learned, there's a difference between being the bigger person and being a doormat. There's a difference between forgiveness and letting people walk all over you. There's a difference between handling things with grace and letting yourself be destroyed to spare someone else's feelings. I wasn't cruel for no reason. I was honest. I was transparent. I simply showed people the truth. And if the truth is humiliating, well, that's not my problem. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I got a message from Sarah. I almost didn't read it. Her name popping up on my phone still made my stomach twist. But curiosity got the better of me. Beck, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I know I don't deserve your time or attention. But I need to say this, even if you never respond. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Not because I got caught, not because everyone knows, but because I genuinely, truly destroyed the most important relationship in my life. You were right about everything. It wasn't worth it. Marcus and I tried to make it work after everything fell apart, and it lasted exactly 3 weeks before we realized that what we had wasn't real. It was just the thrill of sneaking around, of doing something forbidden. Without that, we had nothing. He was awful to me. Controlling and mean and nothing like the person I thought he was. Or maybe he was always like that and I just didn't see it because I was too busy betraying you. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even want it, really. I just wanted you to know that you were right. About all of it. I hope you're doing well. I hope you found happiness. You deserve it more than anyone. I read it 3 times. Then I deleted it without responding. Not out of anger. Not even out of spite. But because Sarah was right about one thing, she didn't deserve my time or attention anymore. Some bridges, once burned, should stay burned. A year after everything happened, I was in a good place. Better than good, actually. I'd sold the house, couldn't stand living there after everything, and the money allowed me to buy a gorgeous condo downtown with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the river. I'd expanded my business, taken on bigger clients, even hired an assistant. My days were full of creative work that I actually enjoyed, not just tasks I had to complete. I'd started dating again. Nothing serious yet, but I was open to it. I'd learned to trust my instincts better, to listen when something felt off, to not make excuses for other people's behavior. I'd also made new friends. Real friends. People who valued honesty and loyalty and didn't stab you in the back the moment things got difficult. But the biggest change was internal. I used to be someone who avoided conflict. Who swallowed her anger to keep the peace. Who prioritized other people's comfort over her own dignity. I'm not that person anymore. Now, when someone crosses me, I address it. When someone lies to me, I call them out. When someone tries to take advantage of my kindness, I shut it down immediately. Some people call it being jaded. I call it having boundaries. Some people say I'm not the same person I used to be. They're right. I'm not. I'm better. Last month, I ran into Marcus. It was completely by accident. We were both at the same coffee shop, him walking in as I was walking out. We nearly collided in the doorway. Rebecca, he said, surprise evident on his face. Hi. Marcus. I kept my voice neutral. An awkward pause. He looked older, I noticed. More tired. There were new lines around his eyes, gray in his beard that hadn't been there before. How are you? He asked. Good. You? I'm managing. Still teaching. Different school now. I heard. Another pause. He shifted his weight from foot to foot, clearly wanting to say something. Listen, Rebecca, I know this is probably the last thing you want to hear, but I really am sorry. For everything. I was an idiot. I threw away something real for something that was never going to work. And I've regretted it every single day since. I studied him for a moment. Tried to find some remnant of the man I'd loved, the man I'd married, the man I'd planned to grow old with. He wasn't there anymore. Or maybe he'd never been there at all, and I'd just been seeing what I wanted to see. I appreciate you saying that, I said finally. I do. But it doesn't change anything. I know. I needed you to know. Okay. Well. Take care of yourself, Marcus. You too. I walked past him, out into the sunshine, and I didn't look back. And I realized something. I felt nothing. Not anger. Not sadness. Not even satisfaction. Just, nothing. He was a stranger to me now. Someone I used to know. Someone who used to matter. And that was the most satisfying feeling of all. So here's what I want you to understand, if you take nothing else from this story. Betrayal changes you. There's no way around that. You can't go through something like this and come out the same person you were before. But you get to decide how it changes you. You can let it make you small and scared and unable to trust anyone ever again. Or you can let it make you strong and fierce and unwilling to accept anything less than what you deserve. You can let it destroy you. Or you can let it rebuild you into something better. I chose the latter. Did I handle everything perfectly? Probably not. The gala was dramatic, sure. Some might even say it was too much. But you know what? I don't care. Because for 6 months, Marcus and Sarah had all the power. They got to sneak around, lie to my face, use my home, and plan their future while I was completely in the dark. That night at the gala? That was me taking the power back. That was me refusing to be the victim in their story. That was me standing up and saying, no. You don't get to do this to me, and walk away unscathed. And if that makes me petty or vindictive or whatever other labels people want to throw at me, fine. I'd rather be petty and have my dignity than be forgiving and be a doormat. These days, I sometimes think about Sarah. About those 20 years of friendship. About all the memories we made, the inside jokes we shared, the secrets we kept. Were any of them real? Or was our entire friendship just a performance, a placeholder until she found something better? I'll never know. And I've made peace with that. What I do know is this: real friends don't betray you. Real friends don't sleep with your husband in your house. Real friends don't laugh about how naive you are behind your back. Real friends show up for you. They protect you. They value you. Sarah was never a real friend. She was just someone I thought I knew. And as for Marcus? He was never the man I thought he was either. The man I married wouldn't have done what he did. The man I married was kind and honest and loyal. But that man was a fiction. A story I told myself because it was easier than seeing the truth. The truth is messy and painful and complicated. But it's also liberating. Because once you see people for who they really are, not who you want them to be, not who they pretend to be, but who they actually are, you can make real decisions about your life. You can choose to walk away. You can choose to rebuild. You can choose yourself. If there's anyone out there reading this, anyone who's been betrayed by someone they trusted, anyone who's been lied to or cheated on or taken advantage of, I want you to know something. It's not your fault. You didn't deserve it. And you don't have to be quiet about it. You don't have to protect their reputation while they destroy yours. You don't have to make it easy for them. You don't have to forgive them just because society says that's the right thing to do. You are allowed to be angry. You're allowed to be hurt. You're allowed to burn it all down and walk away from the ashes. You're allowed to choose yourself. And when you do, when you finally prioritize your own healing, your own happiness, your own future, that's not selfish. That's survival. That's strength. That's knowing your worth. So that's my story. The story of how my best friend of 20 years slept with my husband in my house, and how I made sure everyone knew about it. It's not a story with a neat, happy ending. I didn't ride off into the sunset with a new love. I didn't become a completely different person who never thinks about what happened. But I did survive. I did rebuild. I did create a life that's mine and mine alone. And some days, that's enough. Most days, actually. Because I'm not the woman who walked into her bedroom that Tuesday afternoon and found two people she trusted more than anyone in the world betraying her in the worst possible way. I'm the woman who walked out of that gymnasium with her head held high while everyone else's world fell apart. I'm the woman who refused to be a victim. I'm the woman who chose herself. And honestly, that woman is pretty incredible. I'm still learning to be her. Still learning to trust my instincts, to set boundaries, to not make excuses for other people's bad behavior. But I'm getting there. One day at a time. One choice at a time. One moment of choosing myself over and over again. And if you're in a similar situation right now, if you're reading this and thinking about your own betrayal, your own Marcus and Sarah, I want you to know. You'll get there too. It won't happen overnight. There will be bad days, days when you want to give up, days when the pain feels like too much to bear. But you'll survive this. You'll rebuild. You'll become someone even better than who you were before. Because that's what betrayal teaches us. If we let it, we're so much stronger than we think we are. We're so much more resilient than we give ourselves credit for. We're so much more than what other people tried to make us believe. So here's to everyone who's been betrayed and chose to rebuild instead of crumble. Here's to everyone who stood up for themselves even when it was uncomfortable. Here's to everyone who refused to be quiet about their pain just to make other people comfortable. Here's to choosing yourself. Always. Every single time. Because you deserve it. And don't let anyone, not a cheating spouse, not a fake friend, not anyone, ever convince you otherwise.